I'm getting the requests. Okay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Okay, YouTube link. This is the YouTube link for the channel. And let's start. Need to complete this today. Okay, so ready? We are going to do this. The question will come on the screen and you will have to, yes, Saturday we have the class, and after next Tuesday will be the last class, I presume. Okay, now the question will come on the screen and all of you will have to put the answers in the chat box. Okay, so let's do it fast. The first question. Just give the answers A, B, C, D. Okay, fine. So a lot of A and a lot of B's. Someone also said C. Let's see what's the right answer. B is the correct answer. Smaller is the quantity of goods demanded. Next question. Most of you are correct. The correct answer is certainly A, inversely with its price. So they are inversely related. Had it been law of supply, then it would have been direct relation. Okay, third question. Law of demand implies that demand curves shift which side, or whether it slopes. Yes. Okay. Get a variety of answers, but so the correct answer is slopes down. Okay. I think something I messed up. The answer to this is slopes down. Okay, let's have the next question. Is it coming on the screen? Yeah, now it's there. Now it has come. Yes, so most of you are right. It's substitutes. Let's have this one. So the correct answer is A, elastic. Okay, let's answer this one now. Yes, see, B is the right answer, right? Okay. National income accounting. Yes, so most of you are right. B is the right answer, subsidies. NNP at market price is equals to GDP at market price plus net income from abroad. True or false? Yeah, false. So domestic can never include income from abroad. National product includes. So when you're going from gross, yes, it has to be, it's partially true, I would say. The depreciation needs to be deducted from here. Yes, so depreciation has to be deducted for sure. One. Domestic income is equals to national income. Here it's false. If I change into national income minus net income earned from abroad, will that be true then? Yes. As it is, it's false. Yeah. About this one, can net national income earned from abroad be positive or negative? True. It can be positive, it can be negative. If imports are more, it will go to negative. So correct answer is you deduct public undertaking profits because you're calculating private income. Yes. From budgeting, Indian Union budget. So budget as such, the word has not been used in the constitution. It is annual financial statement. Yeah. Last question was this one. So B is very confusing because that's what we normally associate. But budget has never been used as a terminology in the constitution. We discussed that. The terminology which has been used is the annual financial statements. Let's look at this one now. From which fund draw requires presidential assent also? Consolidated or contingency? So presidential assent is required only for contingency fund. Consolidated fund requires only approval from the parliament. Okay, in which year the two budgets got merged? Union and Railway. The answer is 2017. A. Which year the timings of the budget was changed from 5 p.m. to 11 a.m.? The answer is correct. A answer is correct. 2001. UTI launched the first mutual fund in India in the year 1964, 65, 78, 82. Yes, most of you are correct. It is A, 1964. Which bank launched the first mutual fund in India? Hmm. So it's a little tricky one. The first institute to launch the mutual fund was UTI, but as regards the question is, it talks about which bank. So give importance to each word. It says which bank. So in terms of bank, it was the State Bank of India who launched the first mutual fund. Yes. Okay. So just a little bit of practice. Now let's go to the discussion. Good morning. So was this fun? This test? Yeah. You want the link of the drive? Okay, let me give it to you then. Okay. So I've also uploaded on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I have uh, uploaded a session MCQ on the fourth on this fourth chapter. So if some of you have not checked it, please check it. I'm not able to copy the link. Give me some time. I'll post the link of the drive in some time. We are on the page number 67. And session on Industrial Financial Corporation of India and CSEET. Okay, we'll do a quick test in every session in the next session also. No problem. Okay, now let's start the discussion on IFCI. Now, to give you a little background, the IFCI was set up after the independence. India was just trying to rebuild the nation, and any nation which has to be built needs a lot of investment to be done in uh, development of industries, uh, development, infrastructure development. So a lot of funds are required. Is number 67 of the module. Yeah. Thank you for posting the link, Rosie. So the country required a lot of investment to be made, and realizing this need and to bridge this gap, corporation, Industrial Development Corporation was created. Primary objective of, we can't see the link, Sakshi. That's not possible. It is shared to all. Okay, Lakshmi, no, that's not the right link. Able to see what you think, the screen is not visible. I think it's working fine. I'm checking from the another device. As regards the drive link is concerned, there. Okay, I will post it again. Okay, now let's continue. So therefore, this IFCI was set up. The date on which this Industrial Finance Corporation IFCI was set up was 1st of July 1948 by way of an act passed by the Parliament, which is IFC Act 1948. Now, this was the first developmental financial institution of India, set up to propel economic growth through development of infrastructure. As I said, there are long-term projects which requires huge capital investments. To bridge that gap to funding for such projects, the financial institution was set up. So the objective was to contribute to the projects for the growth and development of the nation, including manufacturing projects, infrastructure and service and agricultural allied sectors. This our corporation has played a very pivotal role in the development of the country, because it's not only that they have provided funding requirements, they have also set up a lot of subsidiaries, a lot of companies. Support was provided to many important organizations, including stock exchanges. Uh, so they have played really a very important role in the development of this country. Now, after the Companies Act 1956 was passed, uh, in the month of October 1999, almost after 4 decades of or 5 decades of operation by IFCI, it was then decided that it was a statutory corporation. The word statutory corporation denotes it was constituted under the Act of Parliament, which is IFC Act 1948. So in 1999, it was decided, let's change this structure from statutory corporation to a company, which means the moment this transformation happens, earlier there was an act governing the operations, governing this institution. The moment we change the structure to a company, the Companies Act will govern the structure, govern the institute now. And the name of the company was also changed to IFCI Limited. Now it's a public limited company registered under the Companies Act 1956. Now, as I said, there are many institutes, many companies which were floated by this IFCI, and they have also invested in a lot of entities as an associate enterprise or as a subsidiary company. So some of the associates and subsidiaries to which IFCI has provided support includes Stockholding Corporation of India, then National Stock Exchange Limited, LIC Housing Finance, Tourism Finance Corporation, Management Development Institute, ICRA Limited, which is a credit rating agency, ICRA. So these are some of the major players which are subsidiary or associate companies of IFCI. So as you can see, they have not only remained a sole enterprise operating in the market, they have also floated several agencies, several companies, and played a very important role in bridging the gap between the lenders. ICRA is what we call it as ICRA. ICRA is a credit rating agency. Like we have CRISIL. ICRA is also a credit rating agency. Okay. Now, some of the products of IFCA are given. Primarily, as I said, they are into loan funding, providing loan. So you can say the major product is loan, which is divided into parts. So first is project financing under loan products. Then there is corporate financing. And then there is structured financing. So these are three subcategories under the loan products. In addition to the providing loans, they have also provided syndication and advisory services. Now let's discuss one by one. Project financing is primarily for long-term projects. Let's say there is a project of cleaning of the entire river, or the project of constructing express highway, or a project of laying of optical fiber cables from one city to another city or from one state to another state. This requires a lot of investment. Or let's say the project of construction of windmill farms. Now these are long-term projects which requires huge funding. So when the entire project is funded, it is nothing but a project financing. Corporate financing, as the name itself suggests, the funding is provided to body corporates, companies, private limited companies, public limited companies. Now that in loan provided can be for business purposes, for working capital purposes, for term loan purposes, for expansion of factory, for acquiring the movable property, or for acquiring the plant and machinery, importing the plant and machinery, various types of purposes. Whenever the loan is provided to corporates, that is coming under the corporate financing wing of the IFCI. The third is structured financing, which is a very popular concept, and concept I would say since this startup India has come, because it's not that every company will be able to provide a collateral, or every company just needs a loan. Sometimes the transaction has to be structured in such a way that there is an equity investment involved also, because the project or the company requires long-term funding as well as short-term funding. So a structure is created. There is also a concept which is used, is known as mezzanine funding. Now mezzanine funding is nothing but a kind of fund structure where in a transaction there is equity investment also provided, and there is a loan also which is provided. So that kind of funding, which includes both debt and equity, is known as mezzanine fund, which comes under a structured financing. So these are the three main subcategories of the loan products of the IFCI. Established as IFCI on July 1st, was the first development institution. IFCI set up to cater the long-term finance needs of the industrial sectors. Since its inception, IFCI has been catalyst in creating a robust industrial base through modernization of Indian industries, export promotion, import substitution, nurturing sunrise industries, etc., through commercially viable market-friendly initiatives. In order to continue the serving needs of industry, IFCI offers following products categorized into three segments: project financing segment, corporate and structured financing is the second and third. Now, project finance is because they have in-depth understanding of the sectoral dynamics. They have the ability to provide customized financial solutions. So customized solution, it's not standard product for all. It is standardized, customized as per the requirement. The project can be greenfield project, brownfield project, and the sectors in which the funding is provided is not only one sector. It can be from power sector, telecom sector, roads, oil and gas, ports, airports, basic metals. So project can be from any sector. Considering the requirement of the project, the customized solutions are provided. That comes under the project finance segment of the IFCI. Second is corporate. As we discussed, it is to cater varied needs of diverse set of customers ranging across small, mid and large corporates. So corporates means companies and limited liability partnerships. IFCI offers financial solutions in areas of corporate finance through balance sheet funding, loan against shares, lease rental discounting, promoter funding, long-term working capital requirements, capital expenditure, and regular maintenance capex. So these are again subcategories coming under corporate finance. It can be against balance sheet funding, it can be loan against the shares, pledge of shares, it can be lease rental discounting. Capex means capital expenditures. Lease rental discounting, promoter funding, long-term working capital requirements. So these are the types of products are coming under corporate financing. Next is syndication. So these are the three segments: project, corporate, and structured. Then comes a role of advisor, role of providing syndication services. So syndication services is, let me explain. When there is a project which requires huge investment, let's say the investment requirement is around 1000 crores or 1200 crores, and one company, IFCI, is not capable, let's say, on its own to provide the entire loan. So they also provide support services in case of syndication of loan. So loan syndication is when a group of bankers is formed. We call it also as consortium. So IFCI will partner with other banks, other financial institution, and as a group, as a syndicate, the funds will be provided to the company. Now that is what we call it as syndication. Then there is, along with syndication, then there is advisory role. So there are a lot of players in the market who also provide loan syndication services, where you have to go to them, in their project, give them your project report, and if funding can be provided by one bank, then one bank will provide the loan. If not, then they will only contact the bankers, form the consortium, and the document funding will be provided through several banks, where one of the bank will be the lead banker in the entire process. So this process is called as syndication. Advisory services, because sometimes a company needs funding, but they don't know how to avail those funds, then the advisory role comes in. Your screen is not sharing. It's there, I think. I am able to see it from the other device. So just check at your end. Maybe the issue with the internet. Yeah. So we were on consortium. Sometimes, and the advisory services, sometimes looking at the balance sheet, a person will be able to tell you that you have not leveraged your position, your assets properly. Let's say a company into pharma sector has a lot of intellectual property registered in its name, patents, trademarks, copyrights. Now, those are assets which will have a market value. So if they go to a advisor for funding, then looking at the sheet can be advised to them that you have availed loan against your plant and machinery or land and building. You have offered that as a security. Why don't you do the valuation of your immovable property, intellectual properties, intangible assets, and approach some of the banks for taking loan against those properties, because ultimately that's also your asset which has some realizable value. Or sometimes an advisor will tell them, why don't you restructure your balance sheet, bring your assets into the realizable value, create a revaluation reserve, and then go to a financial institution, which will result in increase in your borrowing capacity. So that kind of advice can be given. So again, that role is played by IFCI for most of the companies, because uh, they have, first of all, they have seen the entire growth of industries right from the year 1948. So they understand how things work, and hence they are best suited to provide this support. And they have been playing this important role. Okay, structured products, we have discussed this. Mezzanine, we have discussed. Pre-IPO financing is again a very, very important term. Where before the company goes for IPO or taking funds from the public, they come up with pre-IPO financing, where the shares are offered on a private placement basis to few selected group of investors. And it's a very, very popular way of IPO is initial public offerings. IPO stands for initial public offering. So whenever a company, we say public issue, it's 200. Now let's come to another, the second institute, important institute, which has played a very, very important role in development of small scale sector. And we have realized this, that MSME sector is one of the largest sector in the manufacturing or services sector. A lot of micro, small and medium enterprise players are there, and recently this has been in the use because the government has announced a economic package for MSME, and a lot of schemes are being floated by the government from time to time for the providing necessary support to MSME. Now, SIDBI was set up initially in the year 1990, again under an act of parliament. So again, it's a statutory corporation for promotion, financing, and development of micro, small, and medium enterprise sector. So some of the initiatives which SEBI has taken are given in the last 25 years. What kind of support they have provided Problem in voice. Check, check. All okay? Hello, hello, Cash. Voice is okay. Okay, great. So some of the initiatives which SIDBI has taken is to provide, obviously, pre-IPO financing. We discussed this way, but let me touch again on that. It's a process, or it's a way which companies use. It's more of a strategy before the company goes to public for public issue IPO. Shares are offered to a small selected group of people on a private placement basis. So it's a part of a strategy, because pre-IPO financing valuation is uh, always lesser than the price at which the IPO will be launched. Provide benefit to a selected group of investors. That funding is, yes, it can be private institution, it can be private players, it can be high net worth individuals, it can be someone from the relatives of the promoters. Okay, so should be okay, okay, we'll come to that. Let's complete SIDB first. So obviously SIDB has been playing a very, very important role. Like IFCI, SIDB also plays a role where they provide finance, they provide guidance, they provide advices. These is This is the major role which is played by SIDB. So if you can see the initiatives which they have taken, it can be categorized into any of the three categories. One is to provide assistance of around 5.4 lakh crores. Again, it is nothing but a loan directly impacting over 360 lakh persons or enterprises through its branch network of around 80 offices spread across the country, as well as through the network of banks institution having more than 1.25 lakh branches across the country. This is what their reach is within the country. Extending loans, equity, quasi equity, aggregating to INR 13,689 crores, benefiting 356 lakh disadvantaged people, mostly women, through its microfinance operations. So microfinance again is a terminology where the loan amount which is provided is of a very, very small amount, maybe 50,000, 60,000, or less than a lakh rupees. But look at the funding which has been provided to the disadvantaged people. 356 lakh disadvantaged people have been helped by providing funds aggregating to 13,689 crores. Now, what is quasi equity? Anyone? Semi equity. Okay, can you give me an example? Have you heard this term before? Quasi equity? No. Yes. Both and equity. Okay. Quasi equity means something which looks like equity, but it's not an equity as of now. So quasi equity, any convertible debentures or convertible preference shares. Debentures is a debt instrument, but when it is a convertible debentures, it's eventually going to get converted into equity. So that type of funding which is done, or the instruments which are issued, are known as quasi equity. So which is a debt, or which is not an equity, but eventually it will get converted into equity. So that type of, or convertible loan, any loan which gets converted into equity in the future, period will be quasi-equity. Deepening its outreach by nurturing and evolving more than 100 MFIs, microfinance institutes, who have emerged as strong and viable financial intermediaries serving the unserved. So how beautifully they have put serving the unserved. So microfinance, yes, convertible securities are quasi-equity. So MFIs again, we'll discuss in sometimes the types of non-banking financial companies. And there are some non-banking financial companies which are operating into microfinance activity. Now, microfinance institute is an institute which only caters to the needs of small players, and the loan amount provided is not more than 50,000, 60,000 rupees. So they provide small funds, but to larger sector where no bank will provide a loan to them. So be a loan provided to an auto rickshaw driver so that he can buy an auto rickshaw for himself for his commercial purpose. Now that kind of small funding is done by microfinance institutes. So SIDBI also provides supports to microfinance institutes who are into the business of funding these small players which have been left unserved by any other financial institution in the structure. Supporting more than 1.16 lakh budding and existing entrepreneurs by infusing skills and reskilling initiatives. So as I said, they also provide advisory services. They also provide guidance to the small players, to the existing players, to the budding players who wants to come and become an entrepreneur. Facilitating institutions buildings by adopting a SIDBI plus approach and creating its subsidiary and associate institutions for providing impetus to the growth of MSME segment ecosystem. Developing a passionate pool of 1,000 plus professionals with 22% women and 40% belonging to SC/ST category and OBC for serving to the needs of dynamic and consistently evolving MSME sector. So again, creating a pool of professionals, budding players. Budding means who are emerging. So like you all are budding company secretaries. There are as much as possible you should remember is all I can say. So any business enterprise will need a lot of advices, a lot of guidance, a lot of support. So be it an accountancy, be it advisory, be it legal support, be it company secretary services related support, be it support with respect to getting the funds, sometimes with the marketing, sometimes with the brand building. So what SIDBI has done, they have created a pool of who will provide support to the small players, to the MSME sector. So the professional has to get himself registered on the portal with the government, and they will be able to, the small players will be able to avail the services of the professional. Now these are the key milestones of SIDBI during his journey of last how many years now? 30 years almost. Okay. So 1990 set up foundation of microfinance laid. Then the technology wing was created. Then a company SIDBI Venture Capital Fund Limited was created. Then Credit Guarantee Fund Trust was created. Then SMERA SME IRA ratings again for small scale sector rating agency, then SME asset reconstruction committee, then Mudra was created. Mudra is nothing but a uh, company created. It's a subsidiary of CSEET, which was set up in the year 2015, again to provide support to the small sector. This is what the journey is all about. Okay. Micro unit development and regulation. What does that mean? Books are available, Muskan, on the institute's website. So you can check that. Recordings are available. Recordings are available on the link. I will share the link right now. Just a second. Or if someone has it handy, can you please post it? Let me see. Okay, Aditi has already posted it. Let me post it again. Okay. RRBs we have discussed, so I will skip this. Cooperative banks, we had discussed the first part, but let's discuss it once again. So cooperative society is again a type where people come together with a common objective, and so it is somewhat similar to company, but it is a little different than what a company form of organization is. So primarily when a few group of people come together, creates an organization for the benefit of all the society members, that type of association is called as cooperative society. And when a cooperative society is uh, in the banking business, then they are treated as cooperative banks. Now, this cooperative society is a subject which comes under the union list as well as the state list. So there are, every state has their own laws with respect to regulation of cooperative societies, but there will also be a central law also which talks about the cooperative societies. So we have Societies Registration Act. Then we have every state having their own laws with respect to the cooperative societies within the state. But when it comes to banking business, RBI is the organization, a central bank, which provides the necessary support as well as that RBI is the regulator when it comes to the operation of cooperative banks is concerned. So any cooperative society who wants to be into banking business needs a license from Reserve Bank of India. There are some differences which are being given between a cooperative bank and any other commercial bank or a joint stock bank. We say joint stock banks means those banks which are registered under the Companies Act. So cooperative banks issue shares of unlimited liability, where joint stock banks issue shares of limited liability. In a cooperative bank, one shareholder has one vote irrespective of the number of shares he holds. But in of organization, we have seen that one share, one vote is the phenomena which is prevailing. Cooperative banks are generally concerned. So primarily you will see cooperative societies operating in the rural and semi-rural or semi-urban areas. And that is how the structure is. So rural credit and financial assistance to agricultural and rural activities. Whereas companies you will find more in the second point. Okay, cooperative bank, one shareholder has one vote, whatever number of shares he may hold. So when it comes to general meeting, the shareholder will have one vote only. irrespective of how many shares he holds. But in companies, we see the shareholding is, or the voting right is linked to the shareholding. So if I have 20% stake, my voting right will be 20%. Whereas in cooperative, it is one person, one vote, irrespective of how many number of shares you hold. No idea how to edit the PDF. I have stopped putting efforts there. Cooperative banks are generally concerned with the rural segment, where joint stock company banks are concerned with the credit requirements of trade and industry in the urban area. Cooperative banking is federal in structure. So federal in structure means there is a structure, there is a higher organization, and then there are organizations below it. So what is that structure? We'll discuss it sometime. So there is a central bank. It can be a bank where other cooperative banks are also the members. Then there are district level and state cooperative banks, and then there are rural primary credit societies in the last rung. Okay, now structure we have seen. This is what we had discussed. Let's look at this table and we will understand the entire structure, this diagram. So the cooperative credit institutions or cooperative banks can be categorized into two types: agricultural, those which caters to the agricultural sector, and those which cater to non-agricultural sector. Again, agricultural can be further divided into those which caters long term, those cater to short term. Now, long term means land development banks, primarily for land development. Short term again are categorized into three. One is state cooperative, one is central cooperative, and third is primary agricultural credit societies. So state cooperative, there is one in each state. Central cooperative will be in different cities, districts, and primary societies will operate in the rural areas. Right. Now, there are four types of banks. So state we have discussed, we'll discuss it again when we read this. First is central cooperative. Central cooperative means those banks where more than one cooperative, where there are many cooperative banks also a part of a cooperative central cooperative bank. So cooperative banking union means other cooperative banks are also the part of the member of such union. Mixed control cooperative bank again means where there will be cooperative banks as well as individuals who will be the members of this mixed control cooperative bank. Right. So now these banks are operating at district level or city level, categorized into two types: cooperative banking union and mixed control cooperative bank. Cooperative banking union means those banks where only cooperative banks are the members, no individual member is the member there. Then there is mixed control cooperative bank, which includes cooperative banks also as their members, cooperative societies also as their members, as well as there are certain individuals who are part of mixed control cooperative bank. In the first, the members of the bank are cooperative societies only. However, in the second, members can be cooperative societies as well as individuals. The central cooperative banks lend money mainly to affiliated primary societies, which means these cooperative banks, central banks, will provide funding only to which agencies? Affiliated primary society. Affiliated means which are associated with them, registered with them, affiliated to them. with a typical loan tenure lending between 1 to 3 years. So central bank will provide loan to primary credit societies. Primary credit societies, as we saw, operates in the rural areas. Clear? So central cooperative banks will provide funding to rural cooperative banks also, which are affiliated to a society. What is state cooperative? These banks are organized and operated at the district level and rest at the top of hierarchy in the cooperative credit structure. With the help of state cooperative banks, the RBI funds the cooperative institutions. So RBI will look at, so if I have to create a diagram, there is RBI, then there are state cooperative banks, under each state cooperative bank there are central cooperative banks. Under central there are rural. Rural, we know it as primary also, because they operate at the primary level, grassroots level, and they provide funding to farmers, agricultural sector primarily. Right? So this is how the structure is as regards cooperative banking is concerned. And land development banks is a category where, if we see this, long-term credit institution. So this is for short term. In short term, we have state, central, primary. State at the top, central below that, and credit rating, primary credit come the last truck. As regards long-term capital requirements are concerned, we have land development banks. So the example is NABARD. Development banks are divided into three tiers, which are primary, state, and central. Again, these offer credit services to farmers for developmental purposes, where the tenure of the loan is a long-term loan. They used to be regulated by RBI as well as state governments. However, this responsibility was recently transferred to the National Bank of Agricultural and Rural Development Bank, which we call it as NABARD. So long-term banks are now regulated by a separate agency. They are not regulated by Reserve Bank of India, whereas short-term credit societies, cooperative credit societies, are still regulated by RBI. Now let's come to the another important type of institution in the entire financial ecosystem, which is non-banking financial companies. Hard copy of the material will not be provided, Satyajit, by the institute, is what I have come to know, considering this lockdown situation. So don't wait for that to happen. Start studying for the soft material which is available. Now, NBFC plays a very important role in the entire economic financial ecosystem. As the name itself suggests, it is a non-banking. Non-banking means they are not banks, but they are financial companies. So not into banking, but into financing. Now, financing includes both taking money and lending money. So accepting deposits as well as giving loans. Now, what is the difference between NBFC and any other bank? Because any other bank will also accept deposit and will give loans, make investment. And when we say NBFC also can accept deposits and give loans, then what is the difference? Why we treat them as non-banking? So the first difference, major difference, is NBFCs cannot accept demand deposits. So demand deposits, what is demand deposits? Anyone? Demand deposit is a concept where no, FD is not a demand deposit. Today you go to bank, you deposit 5,000, you come out of the bank, you go to the ATM, you again withdraw 5,000, right? So bank is not going to question that you deposited the money half an hour ago, now you are withdrawing it again. Bank will never question you and they can never question you. Now, these kinds of deposits where the bank will not accept, will not question, you can demand your money any point of time. Now that type of deposits are called as demand deposits. So NBFCs cannot accept demand deposits, but they can accept long-term deposits. Again, they have to have a license from the Reserve Bank of India. They cannot operate without taking the license from India, a license from RBI. And Reserve Bank of India has a separate department which takes care of regulating the non-banking financial companies. RBI is very, very strict when it comes to giving license to non-banking financial companies. It takes somewhere close to 6 to 8 months to get a license from Reserve Bank of India, and there are several criterias which Reserve Bank of India applies before giving any registration to of under NBFC. So it's not that anyone can go and take that license. First of all, there is a net worth criteria. The NBFC has to have a minimum net worth of 2 crore rupees, depending on the activity again. Second, any new player will not get a license where they can accept deposits. They first have to be non-deposit accepting company, which means they can provide loans, but they cannot take deposits. Yes. So the three main difference between NBFC and banking companies are: first, no demand deposits. Second, NBFCs do not form part of payment and settlement system. They cannot issue checks. Deposit insurance facility of Deposit Insurance and Credit Corporate Guarantee Corporation is not available to depositors of NBFCs, unlike in the case of banks. Right, credit card now they have come up with. So Bajaj Finserv is another type of NBFC. It's an NBFC. Yes. Deposit means any money which you can go and demand anytime from the bank. The money you keep in your bank account is nothing but a demand deposit. You can withdraw at any point of time. There are different types of NBFCs. This is categorization based on activity. So the categorization will be on three bases. One, on the basis of liability. So there will be NBFCs which are deposit accepting. There will be NBFCs deposit accepting, which means the promoters will have to put in their own money and provide loans. Second, in the basis of size, there will be systematically important NBFCs and then there will be non-systematically important NBFCs. And third will be on the basis of activity. Now, on the basis of activity, we see on the basis of liability, type of liability, it's deposit and non-deposit. On the basis of size, it is systematically important and non-deposit holding companies, and non-systematically important. And last is on the basis of activity. So on the basis of activity, we have these many categorization. We'll just quickly discuss one by one. Asset finance company, as the name itself suggests, they are into financing of assets only. Asset can be machine, tractor, lathe machine, generator, earth moving, material handling equipments. Any type of asset financing is done by non-banking financial companies, which is only into asset financing. Next is investment company. A company which is a financial institution carrying on principal business of acquiring of securities. So they will only invest in the companies by way of acquiring the equity or quasi-equity instruments. So they will only invest. Third is loan company, a very popular one, the normal one which operates is loan company, which means any company which is in the business of providing finance, whether by making loans, advances, or otherwise for any activity other than its own, but does not include an asset finance company. So, not an asset finance company, but in the business of providing loans is what we call it as loan company. Third, next is infrastructure finance. Again, a company, as the name itself suggests, into infrastructure financing. So the projects related to infrastructure sector. Now they have to comply with few additional prudential norms, and those are 75% of their total assets should be from infrastructure loans. So they can give loans to another sectors, but 75% of the total loan given has to be to the infrastructure sector. Minimum net owned funds of 300 crores. So they have to have a net worth of 300 crores. Why 300 crores? Because for other NBFCs it is only 2 crores. Infrastructure sectors requires huge capital investment. So infrastructure loan amounts will not be smaller loans. Hence, there is a net worth requirement of 300 crores against the net worth of 2 crores, which other NBFCs are required to maintain. And third, they have to have a minimum credit rating agency of A category or equivalent and a CRAR of 15%. So what is CRAR? We'll discuss in some time because it's going to come in another categories also. Clear? Explain asset financing again. Okay, asset finance is a company which is into asset financing only. Right? So if a company wants to acquire a tractor or lathe machines or any machine in the company, which is a very okay, which is a very costly machine, huge investment is required, then such funding provided by NBFC, such NBFCs are called as asset finance companies. Okay. Next is investment. Okay, that is clear. Third is loan company. That is also clear. They are into providing loans. Next is infrastructure. Infrastructure, as the name itself says, they are into providing loans to infrastructure sector for infrastructure projects. Now, because infrastructure projects requires huge capital, the net worth requirement of such companies is also 300 crores. Plus, they cannot be an infrastructure company, infrastructure finance company, and not provide loan to infrastructure sector. So they have to provide at least 75% of their total loan, total assets should be to infrastructure sector. They have to have a minimum credit rating of A category or equivalent, and they have to maintain a CRAR. CRAR is nothing but capital adequacy ratio is what we call it as, capital to risk asset ratio, CRAR, or sometimes it is also called as CAR, capital adequacy ratio. So 15% is what they have to maintain as a ratio. Right? So in case any loan gets defaulted, there is at least a ratio of 15% that which can be absorbed by the company, because there are NPAs which happen, and any loan given by a company bank, if it gets defaulted, then it affects the operational and the solvency of the company. Hence, next category is systematically important core investment companies. CIC is another concept where, so if I have to say, as the name is core investment company, whenever there is a big group involved, let's say a big group of industry, Tata Group or Reliance Group, I will look at the questions in sometimes. So these groups have their own NBFC, because within the group, if the money has to be given from one company to another, third, so within the group, if the transactions have to happen, then there are Companies Act provisions which regulates those transactions, section 185, 186 related to loans to directors. So restrictions are there under Companies Act, and exemptions are given to NBFCs or financial companies. Now, in such cases, because in within the group lot of financial transactions happens, it is advisable that if you have a big group of industries, you better have a company within the group which is a NBFC. So this concept came in where CIC is a funding company, business of acquisition of shares and securities. However, not less than 90% of their assets are in the group companies only. So they are core investment companies providing loans, but they are providing loans or investment support only to the group entities. So 90% or at least 90% funding is within the group, which means 10% can be to other players also. Its investment in equity shares, including instruments convertible into equity within a period of not exceeding 10 years in a group companies, constitutes not less than 60%. So two requirements: 90% total assets within the group. Out of this 90%, 60% has to be in equity shares. So if I have given 90 rupees investment, I have provided finance support to the group entities. 60 has to be in the form of equity investment, 30 can be in the form of loan, but 90 has to be within the group, 10 can be to another players, third party also. Third, it does not trade its investment in shares, debts, or loans in group companies except through block sale for the purpose of dilution or disinvestment. So they don't trade in the shares of their group entities on the stock exchange, but they can sell it for the purpose of dilution or disinvestment. But they cannot carry on regular trading activity on the stock exchange if there is a listed entity in the group. It does not carry on any other financial activity except investment in bank deposits, money market instruments, government securities, loans. Now, they can invest in the deposits and all, but again, they have to comply with this 90% and 60%. Rest of the money can be parked in any other investment opportunity available, can be given to other sectors also. So the example of a company which is a CIC is Tata Capital, you can say, where most of the funding they provide to the Tata group of entities only, but they also provide loan to another players, other players. Asset size of 100 crores or above, it accepts public funds also. So they can accept deposits from public. Infrastructure debt fund is another category of non-banking financial companies. It is to facilitate the flow of long-term debt into infrastructure projects. Again, something related to infrastructure. IDF can raise resources through issue of rupee or dollar denominated bonds of minimum 5-year maturity. Only infrastructure finance company can sponsor infrastructure debt funds. So the funds are primarily launched or floated to raise funding from the public, and that also has to be with the license of RBI. So not every infrastructure finance company can float infrastructure debt funds, or they can issue bonds. They have to have a license from RBI to carry out this activity. Hence, this is coming as a separate category of NBFC. So not every infrastructure finance company will be categorized as debt fund, right? So they have to take a license from the Reserve Bank of India. Like non-banking financial into microfinance institutions. So MFI, which we discussed a little while ago, they are to the small players. So at least 85% of their assets are qualifying assets. So what is qualifying assets? Loan disbursed to a borrower with a rural household income not exceeding 1 lakh. So any borrower whose income is not more than 1 lakh, they are provided loan by MFI. So borrowers are categorized here. If it is from a rural sector, then 1 lakh income, annual income. And if it is from semi-urban or urban, then 1,60,000. These are the eligible microfinance institutions, MFI. Loan amount does not exceed 50,000 in the first cycle and 1 lakh in subsequent cycles. So they cannot provide more than 1 lakh in the subsequent cycle, and 50,000 is the first loan. Total indebtedness of the borrower does not exceed 1 lakh, which means at any point of time, the total loan amount outstanding from a borrower cannot exceed 1 lakh. Tenure of the loan not to be less than 24 months. It cannot be less than 24 months for a loan which is exceeding 15,000 with prepayment without penalty. So prepayment without penalty, no foreclosure charges. Tenure of the loan has to be 24 months where the loan is of more than 15,000 rupees. So as you can see, it is a smaller loan to a section of society who doesn't have high income. Loan to be extended without collateral because they cannot afford to offer any securities. Hence MFIs without loan without collateral. Aggregate amount of loans given for income generation is not less than 50% of the total loan given by MFI. So income generation के लिए loan होना चाहिए, not for the survival, and that loan has to be at least 50% of the total loans given by MFIs. So someone taking a loan to buy an auto rickshaw is a loan given for income generation. A household lady taking a loan to buy some tailoring machines is a income generation loan. So they have to categorize it in that way. Loan is repayable. Collaterals, yes, security offered is collateral. Loan is repayable on weekly, fortnightly, or monthly installment at the choice of the borrower. NBFC factors. Factoring is a business where your receivables are sold, I would say. So if there is a company which has debtors worth rupees 1 lakh rupees and they need the money immediately, so they will go to a bank and say, I have to receive 1 lakh rupees from my customers. Can you give me now? They will pay me after a month, but I need this money now. So the bank will say, okay, we are into factoring business. What we will do, we will give you 95,000 and 1 lakh we will recover from your customers. So when the customers pay, it goes to the bank, and which we also call it as assignment of receivables to the bank, is nothing but factoring. So such type of companies which are into factoring business, which is buying the trade receivables and providing the loans, is what we call it as NBFC into factors. Mortgage Guarantee Corporation, they are financial institutions for at least 90% of business turnover is mortgage guarantee business, or 90% of income is from mortgage guarantee business, and net owned fund of 100 crores. So again into mortgages गिरवी रखना. Factoring is when a company sell, discounting of bills is what you can say factoring. Discounting of bills, discounting of trade receivables is nothing but factoring. And last is NBFC, non-operative financial holding company. So as the name itself suggests, they are non-op mortgages girvi rakhna. So when an asset is offered as a security, immovable property, you give flat as a mortgage and you take a loan. That is a mortgaged property, we say. That this property is already offered as a security to the bank. There are several types of mortgages which is not the subject under discussion now. So as of now, this much is sufficient for you. Last category, non-operative financial holding company, means those companies which are not directly into the business, but they have investment in another non-banking financial companies. So they are non-operative, but they are holding companies. Holding companies means they have investment in another NBFCs, through which promoter groups will be permitted to set up a new bank. It's a wholly owned non-operative financial holding company which will hold the bank as well as other financial services. So NBFC, non-operating, and they can have investment in NBFCs, banks. So this entity also comes under the category of NBFC, because even though they are not giving loans directly or providing the support directly, but they are holding investment in another NBFCs. Okay. So the questions which are related to topics we have already discussed, I would say put it to me on a WhatsApp preferably, because if we go back again, we will not be able to complete the topic. As of now, you can consider mortgage and collateral, because collateral security can be immovable property, can be movable property, can be an intangible asset, but mortgage normally is of immovable property only. Where it is a movable property, we call it as hypothecation. Now, capital market types of and ventures, those who are from the commerce background will be very familiar with this. Okay, it's already 9. So let's complete this topic. I intended to complete this chapter today because we have 3 more chapters to go after this, and we have only 2 more sessions left. So let's see how we squeeze it in the remaining 2 sessions. So I will rush through a little in the next session, because this we will complete and then we have 3 more chapters. So let's see how we can do it. Okay, so let's connect again on Saturday. We'll start at 7:30. We'll have a 5 minutes quick quiz like we did today, and then we will, yes, MCQs I will post it on the drive. So thank you so much, and I look forward to connect with you again on Saturday. Thank you so much, and God bless you guys. You have been really wonderful. Thanks for all the encouragement. Thank you. Bye.